Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. If you're new here, welcome. And if you've been with us before, welcome back. We are The Fifth Meeple, a podcast where five diverse friends offer our takes on the latest and hottest games to hit our table. I'm your host, Emerson, the wild card, and joining me at the table today is the Goofy Noob.
Hey guys, it's Daniela. What's up?
The Collector.
Hey, it's 2024. Sell me your games.
The Underdog.
Hey, it's Emily.
And the Intellectual Introvert.
Hi, everybody. This is Chris.
Today's episode is centered around roll and writes, with the exception of one game in which we flip and write. The two games in our lineup today will be Railroad Inc., where we chuck some dice and do our best to connect all of our roads and railways, and Welcome to Your Perfect Home, where we travel back to the 50s, flip some cards, and look to build the best new town. After that, as always, we'll face them off against each other in our head-to-head Battle of the Funnest and see which one will pass the inspection. Will it be the picket white fences or your railroad intersection? But before we get into any of that, David, would you like to tell our listeners about this week's topic discussion?
Oh, yes, I do. So this week we've got a great topic up for debate here. So the topic for the question of the day, I should say, is: does seating order matter when you play a board game?
Well, considering that I changed my seat today, I believe it does. So for 2024, I changed my seat. I came in today expecting to win. I lost miserably on both games.
It's not true. I actually came in last.
Okay, well,
So maybe it is doing something differently.
doing something worse.
I don't know. I'm interested to see because now it's like a whole new world over here. I'm in between the two most competitive players now. So we'll see how it works out this year.
Yeah, it's weird to now, I guess, be able to see your face, which is nice.
I'm sorry about that.
No,
That's weird.
No, it's weird, but it's also a nice treat. So I'm looking forward to that.
It's a nice treat for me, too. We're on the same side of the table, Emerson and I.
Yeah.
I mean, so like when you guys go to a board game night or like you go out with friends and you're playing board games, is there somebody that like you don't necessarily want to sit with just because of how well they might play a game? Does that intimidate you at times?
I haven't actually thought about that before. I would more likely not sit next to somebody because of a strong personality than their skill at a game.
Yeah, I would not sit next to someone if I just don't like them. So there's someone in my mind, but I won't mention who they are. But there's someone that we've met through our game night, and I would prefer just not to play games with them. But there are a couple times where I'm
Because
kind
of
of
the comments.
the
jokes.
I'm just like, dude, shut up. But otherwise, no, I don't think, in my personal opinion, it does not matter who I'm sitting by in terms of like how the game outcome or personality wise. I don't think it really matters to me.
Yeah, I think it can matter who you're sitting after in a game that, like if it's a game where the turn order changes every round, then probably not. But if it's where you're constantly going around the table for turn order, then to me it matters who you're going after because they can potentially set the board up to disadvantage the next person that they can't necessarily do that for three people later. So I think that matters. To your second part of your question, when I'm going somewhere, I don't mind who I'm playing with, who I'm sitting with. And again, if they rub me the wrong way, I may choose not to sit at that table. But for the most part, I'm just there to play, and if I lose, I lose. But
Are you just speaking from experience because you go after me and I always choose what you want? Is that why you feel so strongly about that, Chris?
maybe.
Yeah, and I don't think this year that's going to change any, unless we're taking out stuff from Chris now.
Yeah, maybe.
Could be.
Yeah.
We'll do counterclockwise instead of clockwise.
Well, I had to get out of the middle of David and Chris, so Emily, we're praying for you every
It can
week.
be the reverse too. If you're sitting after a weak player, then maybe someone who could and should be thinking, well, I don't want to leave this for someone, could be leaving you things that again, they probably shouldn't, but that can be advantageous to you. So that's why I think, maybe sometimes David wins.
I don't know. Sometimes Emily comes out from the cut. That's the underdog.
It'll be the battle of the resources over there.
Yeah.
They're going to be fighting so much
Most
for
definitely. We're going to be over here scheming our own
passing
plans.
each other things under the table.
I mean, like I think it comes to a good point too. Like we talk game mechanics here. Some of what I think seating kind of doesn't matter is I like games that you can fight for the first player action or you can do stuff like that. Just because I think sometimes, like Chris was saying earlier, if you are behind somebody, sometimes if it's a drafting game or something, you're always drafting behind somebody that might know the game really, really well. you are sometimes more at a disadvantage potentially, just because of where you sit. If there's maybe a weaker or a new player that maybe doesn't know exactly maybe what's valuable on the board, that the person behind them gets, maybe a slight advantage. So, to me, as I look at board game mechanics, as I journey further into board gaming, I do like mechanisms in the game where turn order is always randomized, or it's fought for during each round, so that it doesn't really matter where you sit, but we're going to fight for that player order.
Yeah.
So.
If it's randomized, turnaround's fair play. And so if you hose me one round, I could hose you the very next round. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for discussing this topic question. And if you guys out there are listening and you guys have an opinion on it, we'd love to hear from you. Feel free to reach out to us on social media, on Facebook or on Instagram.
Hey everyone, Daniela here. Before we get started, we'd like to ask that you take a second to hit the subscribe button so you never miss a show. As we look to grow this channel and community, we'd really enjoy the opportunity to engage with you, the listener. Please leave us any feedback you feel would be helpful to us and share this episode to help grow our channel. Lastly, we'd love for you to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Fifth Meeple, where you can vote in our weekly polls, get in our discussions, and see what we're playing. We also have a new BGG guild, which is titled The Fifth Meeple, and our number there is 4269. You can also visit our website at fifthmeeple.com or just email us directly at thefifthmeeple@gmail.com. And as always, we thank you so much for your support. We hope you enjoy this episode of The Fifth Meeple.
Railroad Inc. is a roll and write game that puts you in the role of a city designer, optimizing and expanding your network of highways and railways. Each player has their own player board representing their city, made up of a 7x7 square grid with 3 connection points or exits along each side. There are also 4 custom dice with faces showing several variations of road and rail configurations. For example, one side may show a straight road, another an angled railway, and yet another an overpass where a road crosses above the train tracks. The dice are rolled at the start of each round, after which players must draw each of the resulting faces in a grid space on their player board, connecting each one to an existing route or to an exit. There are also special routes that players can use once per round to help optimize their network. After 7 rounds, players score their networks, earning points based on their longest road and rail routes, how many exits each network incorporates, and how much of their city's center is populated. But nobody's perfect, so players also lose points for each incomplete route. The player who scored the most points wins the game. There are many variations and expansions available. We played the Deep Blue edition, which optionally incorporates lakes or river dice for alternate ways to score. Railroad Inc. was designed by Helmer Hawk and Lorenzo Silva and was first published by Horrible Guild in 2018.
Thank you, Chris. So kicking off this discussion of Railroad Inc., I think one of the things that really stood out to me when just actually learning the game is that it's pretty straightforward. There's a couple rules here and there, but in terms of any other roll and write game, I think this is one of more of the simple roll and write games that's out there.
Yeah, I agree. We've played roll and writes before, and I haven't liked any of them really until we started playing this game. I think it's a little bit easier to understand. It's a little bit easier to draw. You've only got a couple little options when you're drawing compared to something else that we've played. And I don't want to dog anything, but like Cartographers was more of a frustrating game for me to play for a roll and write. So this is one of the first ones we pulled out that I actually liked.
Yeah, I've taught this particular game to a couple of different groups, and it seems like it's a relatively quick teach. And I think the thing is there's a lot of potential decisions that you can make while you're playing it, but the reality is that the rules associated with those decisions are relatively few. You got to connect like to like, and you have to start here, and here's where you lose points. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, even for me, not having played a lot of roll and writes, it was easy to pick up. I mean, like Daniela said, you roll the dice and like that's what you have to work with this round. Everyone has the same thing. You put it on your board and that's kind of it. It's a little challenging at the same time just because we'll get into this more in a bit, but there are certain rules or specifications, caveats that you have to follow to gain points. But yeah, you roll the dice. That's what you're working with this round, and you just put it on your board and you're good.
Now, with the exception of, there's an option to do the drafting of the dice. So what you're kind of explaining is part of the base game where you have 6 dice, you roll all 6, and no matter who you're playing with, in our case, all 5 of us are dealing with those 6 dice. But there was another time that we did play, and we played with 20 dice, and we rolled all 20, and each of us drafted 4 dice. So now each of us have our four unique dice to work with. So I thought that was pretty cool and unique, and a different way to play the game.
Yeah, and I think that's a double-edged sword, too. I think it gives you a better chance of getting what you need in that first draft when there's a lot of dice on the table, but it also gives you a better chance of, wow, I really didn't need that, and bam, I just got hosed. And people can potentially look and say, okay, that's a tough one. We're going to give you that one.
Yeah, I actually liked playing that version with all 20, but I did horrible. So I played better with the original version, but it was fun regardless to try and draft and see kind of what you came up with. You think you're choosing at your fast time, but it's still a little fast, a little quick pace. So you're thinking, oh, I needed these. And then you're thinking, yeah, I'm doing well. And then bam, -10.
And you mentioned, Daniela, that, hey, this was maybe the first roll and write you played that you actually appreciated or liked. I like roll and writes. I tend to seek them out. And one of the things that fascinates me about roll and writes is especially a game like this where you're not drafting or the other game we'll talk about, everybody's playing with the same stuff, right? You're starting with the same board, you got the same things in front of you, and it's all about how you use those things, and you end up with completely different boards right from the get-go, right? You make a wrong or a different decision along the way, and then your board can go in a totally different direction. I think that's fascinating to me how that works out.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that you mentioned this, and what I'm going to say is might sound weird to some of you, but this is kind of how I felt when we were playing Railroad Inc. It was very silent, and I could tell that everyone was writing or drawing, and it kind of brought me back to school when we used to have these things in English class, and they were timed writing. So it's very quiet in the room. You can tell that everyone's working on it, and it's kind of similar to what you're referring to. Everyone had the same prompt, but at the end of the period, everyone had something completely different, right? So everyone's writing about something differently. And it was also kind of fun and nostalgic that, once the pencils or once the markers are put down, that means, everyone's done.
Yeah.
So we kind of all knew, okay, we're done drawing. We can go ahead with the next phase. So I don't know. That's kind of what it reminded me of.
Yeah, and I guess too, like for me, it's a little more like art class, right? Like everybody follow this line and draw this and make a nice right angle or try. And if you don't do that well, oopsie, what did I put on that space right there?
Yeah, for you, it's art class. For some of us at the table, it is not art class. Yeah. I don't know what it is, but maybe finger painting for art class.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, one of my biggest positives of like this roll and write in particular is that all the turns are simultaneous, which I really enjoy. I tend to seek out, I feel like as I play more simultaneous play, especially if it's more casual in leaning, that I can just, kind of do my own thing in my own little world while everybody else is doing their kind of thing, like Emerson was mentioning. I find that to be fun as far as, the time length it goes. So, adding another player probably wouldn't cost us any more time, or taking away a player. It's about relatively the same. For me too, I did like the second time we played it with the draft mechanic. I'd like a little bit more strategic thought there. So to me, that was fun. But yeah, I can see why people like this game. The components are really good quality too, as far as the dice go. They feel nice and heavy, and they got cool little pictures on them. So depending on what version you get,
dry erase boards, so you're not consuming tons of paper or whatever.
Exactly.
So,
It's very eco-friendly, sustainable.
Small box, really small box.
Yeah, it's a fun little travel game. Bring it to the table, open up a game night or something with this, kind of get people in that mode. You can sit down, play with anybody. Emerson, if you don't like the person sitting next to you, you don't got to talk to them in this game. It's great. So then you can play with that.
Well, until they start talking. I won't say anything. They will, though.
No, yeah. But yeah, I think the competitive in this does pack a little bit of a punch. I do think that there's enough competitiveness in this to keep it fun, but a little lighthearted. I don't know. It's just overall, I don't really enjoy roll and writes. I really like this game.
Kind of to piggyback off of what you're saying, Daniela, I enjoy this game, believe it or not. I really do enjoy this game.
Are you sure?
Right. No, I do enjoy this game. What I really, the killer for me for this game is just the way that my board looks. I hate drawing. Always hated art class. Anything. I'm just very particular, and doing a dry erase marker on a dry erase board, it's not going to look great. Although Daniela, somehow you make it look perfect. I just can't make it look perfect, and it's just frustrating for me. But for those of you that are listening, there are a couple of cool things about this game. One of them being that it is on BGA, Board Game Arena, so you are able to play it online, and that's actually where I prefer to play this game for a couple of reasons. A, you can play it solo, so for those of you that are not as fortunate as we are to have a group to play with, you are still able to enjoy this game alone, but you are also able to, with a few click of a buttons, you're able to play the game. You don't have to have any artistic ability. If you screw up, you don't have to erase it. You just one click, it's gone. You restart. And I think also the time frame, you can play this game in a span of like 5 minutes. For us, I think it took about like 25 minutes, but that was adding a bit of that drafting part to it. But all in all, you play online, you can play by yourself. You don't have to draw, and it's a lot quicker. So those are some positives that I definitely have for this game in terms of it being available online.
Do you think it would help if you had, like, honestly, a mechanical pencil and paper, like for it to be like a real like sharper point versus the
for
marker?
sure.
I think it would too, because I'm constantly hovering my hand above so I don't smudge.
Yeah.
That, and then it just, I mean, writing with the marker is tough enough. Writing with the marker without resting your hand somewhere for stability,
Yeah.
it just looks
Yeah.
horrible. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that might be like something that I don't know if they come with padded paper. I know we were all talking to that's eco-friendly, but maybe like a double-sided paper or something that could be printed on twice. That might be something that, I don't know, it'd be interesting to try it.
Yeah,
Make
I
a
have two
print.
versions, and they're both with the dry erase.
Okay.
I assume that's their standard.
Okay.
But
All right. That's cool.
So kind of what I just touched base on, one of the negatives that I do unfortunately have with this game is just the inability to make my board look nice and neat. And it does kind of sometimes get to the point where, you know, the scoring part of it, or even just while playing, I can't even figure out what the heck I just drew. So that it is a little bit of a frustration of mine. But to kind of negate that, the negative feeling that I have with the inability to draw is that it is pretty cool that the dice fit perfectly onto your board. Your board does have squares, and so all the squares are the same size of the dice. So that is pretty cool when you're trying to map out and plan what you want to draw. You can actually lay them down and figure out, okay, this is what I want to do, this is what I don't want to do, so forth and so on.
And that's kind of important as city planners, which is what we're supposed to be for this game, to take that dice and place it right into those spots. I actually didn't even know that was a thing until you just talked about it. So I'm going to use that next time we play and maybe put them on my board to score better than I did on this last trash round.
yeah, and I found it helpful, especially when we were drafting dice, to where I could take the first two I drafted, put them down, and see, okay, what might this look like, and how would that fit with what's left down there. So,
Wow, everybody had that knowledge except for
No, I never even knew
Okay.
that was the thing.
you can be the stupid noob with me.
I just do it in my mind.
Year 2 going strong already.
I think it's funny that a lot of you guys find it frustrating, like how crooked your lines are and stuff. Like, I just slap some stuff down on the board, and like if you put 2 lines, it's a road. If you put a line with some dashes, it's a railroad.
We're gonna-
I think it's funny, like how frustrated
Board game
Emerson gets.
perfectionist or
Yeah.
something.
yeah, but where that gets really hard, I can't remember if we played in this group with the expansions doing rivers. I think we played rivers
Yes.
once.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you have to tell a river versus a railroad
lake?
track,
Oh, okay.
then it starts to matter. Lakes maybe are a little more obvious, but a river versus a railroad track, I've had trouble, and you have to maybe potentially make your rivers look really windy or something.
Or you could get 2 colored dry erase markers. That might help
I guess you could.
if you really like the
Yeah.
game.
Board game accessories right there.
Yeah,
But-
market it, plan it.
One of my frustrations with the game is that because we are all kind of playing our own game, you know, I don't know the outcome of the score, whether I'm doing good or bad, until the very end when somebody says, hey, I got 50 points. Like, I don't actually know, because I can't see anybody's board either, because we have a little player shield. So, you know, to me, I just don't like that. I have no clue what anybody else's board looks like unless I, you know, peek over their shoulder like I was trying to at Emily's board, but I couldn't tell what she was drawing. So,
That's the Will Smith effect. Mind your business.
Danielle, I'm
you
not
know,
sitting over here anymore. We're trading back.
yeah, you know, so, but I just wish that there was like, you know, some sort of maybe mechanic in the game where it at least told me maybe, you know, on the side, it's like, how many exits are you connected with? And you just like have to flip over, like, I have 2. Doesn't mean you're connected, but it means that you're coming off of 2 entrances. So it could be like a bluff that they're building off of that line, or maybe not, but something where I can maybe gauge how it is. Because other roll and writes, you know, there's basically a piece of paper that you have, but there's no player shield. So basically you can just, you know, look across the table and you can see other players' boards. So maybe relatively you could see, you know, are we racing towards something? Are we not? But this one is very much more of a private thing, which if you like that kind of thing, this is probably your game.
And I'm trying to remember, maybe Emerson, it sounds like you've played online. I've only played it actually against people online a couple of times, but I know you can see your own score as you're going. It just kind of keeps track of exactly where you're at as you're going. You may be able to see other people's boards and their score, but I can't remember if that's the case or not.
I have no idea. I've always played solo.
Okay.
I don't play with other people.
Yeah. And what you're touching on too, David,
You
is
should play with yourself.
Not that way, but yeah.
there's not a lot of interaction with people. Oh, good Lord.
Oh boy. Those two are sitting next to each other now. This is why these conversations happen.
I think that's probably a lot of roll and writes. There's not a lot of player interaction. They do tend to be multiplayer solitaire. And that was another nice thing about when we were drafting. There was at least some player interaction. We're looking and saying, okay, I'm going to take that, or I'm going to screw Emily or Emerson or whatever, having to take those dice.
Yeah.
And at least there's something there. But that's about the extent, I think, of the player interaction in the game.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot to track, right? I mean, you're looking at everybody's board and taking dice from them. Like,
You can
I'm
sneak a
worried about
peek
my
over
own
there.
city planning.
Do some hate drafting, especially early when you got flexibility.
Yeah, see, I gotta up my mind in this area because you guys you're so busy looking at my stuff when you don't need to be as the new person.
We tell you it's
Why don't
because
you
your
two-
roads
you
your
can-
roads look so nice.
You
Yeah,
guys can sit
exactly.
over there. Get putting potholes on my roads.
Yeah. If you go on our Instagram, I'm pretty sure the picture you see is Daniela's board.
Yeah.
This game for me is very dry. I think because of, like Emerson said earlier, kind of reminds him of like you're at school doing an assignment. You don't talk, we don't joke. It's kind of a silent game.
Yeah,
And then also because of what David said, we're not like directly competing with each other. Like I don't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what I'm doing. I'm kind of just focused on my own board. That's a little frustrating for me. It's a little dry.
I was say, plus you have to be sitting there blocking your board from David now that you're sitting over there. So
Right.
you got to worry about that too.
I was just making sure I was drawing stuff right, to be honest with you.
I don't
And
know.
no, I'm not saying I like. It's just like the atmosphere is very like I'm gonna go to sleep now.
Yeah, but that's so strange to me because you were a nerd in school. I mean, you enjoyed being the quiet person. You did very well in school. You said you got awards for your writing, so that's weird that you agree with what I said but have negative emotion about what I.
Yeah, but like
How
when
I
you go to
compared it.
game night, I don't want to be doing assignments and
Okay, that's fair.
working on my own thing.
Yeah, it was a quiet game. Right as you're playing, it was a quiet game.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. I've been under the weather, so I guess maybe I preferred it over raw. Most definitely.
call back.
Yeah, I think the only frustration for me in this game is the scoring. With the
Yeah, let's talk about that, Daniela.
Let's not talk about my
the
score.
overpasses.
yeah.
What are your thoughts on the
I-
overpasses?
Well, every time I've played this, I've had to pass it down to Chris to have him review what was the arrow
Exits.
is
Networks?
networks. For some reason, that's not landing with me. A couple more plays, I'm hoping to get it down pat and understand that, and hopefully score my own. I think I had 36, and then you really chopped me off at the knees at 16 for that specific one. So yeah, the overpasses. There are some other connection points that. Really, the rest of the scoring, I think I did okay on. It's just that first line again with the networks that I want to learn more and understand better. And then really on some of the dice, yeah, that overpass where roads connect and railways do not. Certain cutoff points. I don't know, Chris, if you have anything to add about that. If that was maybe something in the beginning you had to take a second to learn, or if I'm just that dense.
I think you just need to take a minute or two, and we could probably sit down and walk through it. And this is what connects and this doesn't. Once it clicks, and it's there. But I think we saw that at this table. I think probably both times we played it here, and then when I've taught it to other folks, that it's either clicked or it hasn't. And if it hasn't, that's a big hindrance because you're placing things to try to maximize your score. And if you don't totally understand how networks work, that's huge. What happened?
I don't understand it either. I just put stuff on my board and I hand it to Chris at the end, and he scores it for me.
Oh boy.
I don't really care enough about the game to learn it. That
No,
well, though.
I
The
think when
in-depth-
learning about the overpasses, it's literally a bridge. So that's how I visualize it. If you're,
so half of like
let's say,
the railroad counts, but the road doesn't.
well, it depends on how it's drawn. But yeah, let's say vertically you have the road, but horizontally you have the railway. The horizontal part, in this instance, the railway, is underneath the bridge. It's a road bridge. That's kind of how I view it.
So hold the line coming out of the
actual main.
Railroad doesn't count.
They're
Yeah,
not
so we're-
connected to each other.
Yeah,
but
we're-
they're connected to themselves.
You have the
Oh,
little
yeah, okay, okay,
parentheses.
yeah.
I guess the
figured that.
parentheses indicate
The
what's
bridge.
I
underneath.
thought you meant like you
Yeah.
pick
Yeah.
either the road or
Yeah,
the
I
railroad, and
understand
only
that.
one counts.
Are you sure?
Oh, no.
So
Yeah, I
what are-
totally understand that. But when I was looking at it, it was, that network stopped and didn't count for anything because the railroad has to then start a whole new connection.
No, what
No.
happened with your board is everything that was connecting was your road. So for your overpass, your railway was actually not connected to anything. Had your railway in that overpass connected to anything, that would have continued with that network, but it didn't.
And I think even your road was only connected to one exit, so your road didn't score either. So if your road is connected to an exit and a rail underneath it is connected to an exit, but they're not connected to anything else or each other, neither one of those score.
Are you pulling up the receipts?
I'm pulling up my pick. But we
Oh, you
let's
took
move
a
on.
picture
Let's
out?
move on. Let's move on.
Let's talk about this for 20 more minutes.
No.
So the other thing that we did like the drafting version of the game. But the one thing I didn't like about it is if you read the rule book and they tell you, hey, there's a drafting version, and if you want to do it, just go out and buy a whole new copy for every player you want to play. So if we really wanted to do that, we would have to buy 5 copies. And each game's like $20. And so, yeah, if we want to play a drafting thing at a table of 5, let's go spend $100 for a rolling right. We're not going to do that. And so I ended up having to make the custom dice because I wasn't going to do that. And so I think that's a little bit wonky to say, hey, you can play a draft mode, but you got to go out and buy 5 copies of the game to do it.
It's a money grab.
Yeah.
I mean, but there's a lot of, coming from a collector standpoint, there are a lot of different versions of this game. So, like a yellow version, a blue version, a red version, in some ways it reminds me of like Pokemon. There's just like a different version, same monsters for the most part, minus like 5 for that, special. I think that's what they're kind of doing here. So yeah, I mean, if you collected, 3 or 4 different ones, I could see how somebody would have it just lying around.
Yeah, and I bought the shiny yellow version or whatever it's called. I haven't brought it here because that one's 4 players max. The deep blue edition we played is 6, but for some reason the yellow one they only give you 4.
I think it was highly discounted around Black Friday.
Yeah,
on
I got it
Amazon.
for $10.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I think one more thing that I did want to bring up and see if it really sparks a conversation with the group is just the theme. The theme for me was a little, you're drawing roads and railways.
It's a little dry.
It's dry. So I guess it's kind of going off of what you said. But I also think that the designer did well with keeping the theme and not killing the theme.
Yeah, I think the thing works well for what it is. And if it was like a 2-hour game, then maybe say, okay, do I really want to build roads for 2 hours? But again, on BGA, like you said, you can knock one out in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Even when we're playing the longer version, it's 20, 25 minutes. So I can live with it. But yeah, I wouldn't want to necessarily build. I say I wouldn't want to build roads and rails, but we played, Age of Steam
Yeah, I
the
can't
other
say
day.
the
And it was
same,
3 to
guys.
3
I
and a
like
half
rail
hours
games,
of rail building. So, but there's a lot more to it than just drawing.
Oh, yeah.
So
Can we give a shout out to the artist? The artwork on the cover is
Yeah, I do
really
like the
beautiful.
artwork.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the art on your own board.
That too. Like shout out to her.
Well, do we know who the artist is? So we can redo it?
Marta Tranquilli did a really good job illustrating this.
Yeah, so shout out to the illustrator of Railroad Inc.
Every round you have the option to add in a special route, which is kind of an add-on to what you're already putting on your board. It's like a
Wild card.
Yeah, it's a wild card.
It's like a wild card, I guess. Every round you can choose to add it in to kind of help you along.
No.
There's
The rules are for each round, you can only draw 1 and you can draw up to 3 per game.
right. So don't leave them at the end because sometimes you'll forget about them. And then the last couple of rounds, you're trying to cram them in there just so you can use them. But they have 4 open sides. So if you put them in there at the end of the game, you have 4 open ends that are going to deduct points from you at the end. So just be careful about those. If you're going to use them early so you can kind of work it into your architecture.
And that's your daily tip from the wild card.
I'm the underdog.
Oh, my bad. And
Thank you, Rob.
And that's your daily tip from the
offended.
underdog. All right. Now that we've given you our thoughts on this game, we're going to go ahead and roll on over to hear how much you can get this game for. David, how much can our listeners expect to pay when buying Railroad Inc.?
Yeah, so right now, if you're looking for Railroad Inc., most places, including Amazon, it's around $20, so like $19.99. But like we said, there were some specials going on, where you can get them as low as $10. I would say if you're on the secondhand market looking for this game from somebody, $10 is probably a fair price for what you're getting. But yeah, it's not, it's a great gift point. I think $20, get somebody in the hobby, say, hey, drop it off at a friend's house, for their birthday or something, get them to do a little bit more than just, Monopoly or something like that. This could be an entry into the hobby. So I think for the price point and the value you're getting and the cool little box that's magnetic, I think it's a good price point at $20.
And I haven't seen the Deep Blue version that we played. I haven't seen it be discounted. The other ones I've seen them drop, but this one, it seems like this one's never on sale. I don't know if it's because it's the main one or what, but this is always $20 on Amazon.
Yeah, this is a game I'm actually looking for at a discount just because I'm trying to get more into my repertoire, but also I don't want to pay too much because it's hard enough to get my family and stuff to play. But I would play this by myself, and then but yeah, like I think it was around Black Friday and stuff like that. I kept looking. I've had it in my cart for a while and have not come up yet.
You were looking for
BGA.
specifically for this version though?
Well, I don't really understand the other versions unless it's just color difference.
It's
so,
not just color difference. Typically the special dice are going to be different, which are just expansions. But for example, the yellow version though does have some different types of routes on them as well, so it's a little different.
Okay, yeah.
But it's the same concept overall.
Same concept, yeah.
I don't know if I would be able to. I'd be interested to see if the yellow's hard to see. Like opening that up, is it like is the contrast a little goofy on that? Do you have the yellow?
I have the yellow, but I haven't actually played it.
Oh, okay. Maybe you can bring it sometime. We can look at it and see. Because I do want to see. I don't know. When I'm looking at the box, it looks very like white and yellow, like very like hard to see, but maybe not.
Yeah, I would say, you could probably find this game for like $14.99 when it goes on sale. $10 brand new is pretty good discount if you do see it. But there's some local deals. I didn't know you were looking for it, so I can look for you locally here. Probably get you something around that price point.
Make it $5.99.
I mean, there are some single board game owners that own board game stores around here. Hook you up.
It is time for thumbs up or thumbs down. If we feel like Railroad Inc. plays well at a player count of 5, we'll give it a thumbs up. If we don't think this game plays well at a 5-player count, we'll give it a thumbs down. Daniela, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think this game is, if everybody came to the table and they kind of knew it, even a quick teach, if it was able to be done, I would hope that this game could be done 15, 20 minutes. Maybe that's pushing it, but I think it's a good, just open up the game night game, bring it to the table. I think it played well at 5 players, kind of to David's point from earlier. He said that, no matter what you're doing, everybody's moving simultaneously through this. And then it's really just everybody marking down and moving on. So I give this a thumbs up. I think it plays well, whether you have solo, 2 players, 5 players, 6. I like it.
Yeah, for me, I'm definitely going to give it a thumbs up at 5 players. I do think it plays well. It plays fast. I think the puzzle is good enough each time, and there's just enough variability to keep me coming back to it as a starter game or a filler. So I think that, to me, yes, it does get a thumbs up at 5 players, especially. To you, Emily.
I'm going to give it a thumbs up at 5. Like Danielle was saying, one of the great things about this game is that player count doesn't really matter a whole lot. You can play it alone. I liked playing it at 5, so I'm going to give it a thumbs up. Chris, what did you think?
Yeah, I like this game a lot. I've played it probably over 100 times on BGA, all, individual, 1 player solo. But at 5 players, I found it was the same experience. And again, when we drafted, I like that as well. A totally different experience. I thought it played really well, scaled well, and I would definitely give it a thumbs up. Emerson, how about you?
That's the word. The dice scale well on the player board.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I would also give this game a thumbs up. Literally what everyone has already said. I have nothing new to say about this. This game plays very well at 5-player count and any player count you want to play it at. You heard it here, folks. Railroad Inc. received 5 thumbs up, which means it received the 5th Meeple seal of approval.
5th Meeple seal of approval.
Grab your clipboard, grab some lemonade, and join us as we go back to the 50s and begin building our new neighborhood.
Grab me and Arnie Palmer.
Welcome to is a flip and write city building game that puts you in the role of a 1950s architect, trying your best to design 3 streets according to the city's plans. Each player receives a sheet depicting 3 rows of 10, 11, and 12 homes. Each round, 3 construction cards are revealed, each depicting a number on one side and one of 6 different effects on the other. You must choose one of those numbers, always between 1 and 15, and write it on one of the houses. Then choose one of the effects from the other 2 cards and execute it. But there are, of course, restrictions. Once you write a number on a house, you can never change it, and all of the houses must be numbered in ascending order from left to right as the game progresses. You can skip numbers, but you can't repeat them, and each number must be higher than any to its left. If you fence yourself in and can't write any of the numbers on a house, your building permit is refused and you take a penalty. The effects on the cards all offer various ways to increase your score. Surveyors allow you to build fences between houses, establishing estates for bonus points. Real estate agents increase the point value of those estates. Landscapers build or expand parks on your streets, with larger parks earning more points. Pool manufacturers can be used on specific homes, scoring for the total number of pools on all your streets. Temp agencies allow you to increase or decrease the house number, giving you much needed flexibility. And BIS cards allow you to duplicate a house number, but come with a penalty. The game ends when one player has 3 building permit refusals, when one player has numbered all of their houses, or when one player achieves all 3 of the varying in-game city plan goals. The player with the most points gets the key to the city and wins the game. Welcome 2 was designed by Benoit Turpin and was first released in 2018.
Thank you, Chris. So going into this discussion, I think one of the cool things about this game that we kind of already mentioned in the previous game is the simultaneous play. I think right now in the board gaming community, simultaneous play is actually becoming more popular and it's becoming very well liked. I saw a group discussion on Facebook and people were praising the idea of simultaneous play and just how they love it. So I'm interested to see how many more games come out this year and how many games just this group that we choose to play to see if it actually incorporates simultaneous play. But in this game, this also does include simultaneous play.
It's kind of funny. I'm sitting here reflecting on it, though, how it is simultaneous play. There's very little downtime. But then when I put my number in and I'm waiting on somebody, it's like those 5 seconds are the longest 5 seconds in the history of man. When it's only 5 seconds that you can play another game and you're sitting there waiting for a minute.
Do you feel like it's a long time because you're like on the edge of your seat and you want the next cards to be flipped, or just because you're a little impatient?
You know, maybe it goes back to what we talked about in the last game, that, well, when that's not happening, there's not a lot of talking going on because everybody's concentrating on the board, and so it's truly dead time at that point.
I do like this game because it has a few handicaps. If you run out of a spot for a number, there are options. Like Chris was saying when he was describing the game, there's the BIS where you can duplicate a number, or there's this other handicap where you can plus or minus a number. So you have a lot of choices, which I really loved. And it did make me take a little longer for my turns, but like, I don't know. It just didn't feel as dry to me as the other game.
Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward game. I've
not
never
as straightforward as the other one.
Well, hold on. It's a very straightforward game. It is not as straightforward as Railroad Inc. I've never taught this game to people, but I feel like, and I can ask David and Chris, who've taught the game before to other people, would you say that this is a fairly easy teach?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So with that, I think, you're saying sometimes there's a couple of choices that you have to make, which is all great and great to have in a game, but it's not so much that it causes for AP. It's very straightforward.
Oh, no.
And
It can get a little tight at the end of the game, though, when you've only got so many spots. And you can, I think if you play it really well, you can set yourself up where you've got number options on multiple streets. But I know in the last game we played, I could take something under a 4 or above a 12, and that was it. And I'm just hoping one of those numbers shows up. So there is a little bit of tightness, but I agree. You're going to have somewhere to place your number, but again, it might not be the optimal one, but you'll have somewhere.
Yeah, another thing I like about this game is just the whole Americana vibe that it brings to the table. I love the old neighborhood, again, another developing city planning type game that brings out just what you need to do, a little bit of planning, a little bit of, the swimming pools, it's the houses, it's the fencing, it's a little bit of planning, but it also has parks and it also has construction and BIS and all this other stuff that really brings, I think the theme works very well for this overall. It's enjoyable. It's just straightforward. It's sleek. I really like that about this. We played with the dry erase markers. I know you can play with the tear-offs that are the pencil. When we played with the pencils the one time, I remember, I could not see my fences and what I was doing on that. And so I really like the dry erase set for this one as well. And just, for the theme overall, I don't know what anybody else thinks about the theme, but I really liked it.
Yeah, the theme was good. I definitely enjoyed playing this game. It's a little bit different. It's with cards. It's not with dice. But my probably best time of this game is that when you do flip over the 3 cards, right, you have a lot of different options on how you score points. I can race with somebody, to try to beat them for one of the goal cards because there are 3 goal cards in the middle of the table, normally, and they normally go in variability from like maybe an easier one to a harder one. And then, even if I'm not the first one, if I went for it, I could still get points based off of just completing that goal. So there is a little bit more points that somebody can get if they get it first. So there is a little bit of a race aspect to that. And then there's just a lot of things that, you can take different paths. Like I think, I looked over at, Emily's board because she's sitting next to me now.
Come on.
And she's got, all sorts of different stuff. I'm not even quite sure what she was going for, but I know it wasn't what I was going for. So our strategies were very different, even though the 3 cards were always the same. So I do like that variability in the game that, you're going up different tracks, you're crossing different things out, and, you're playing your strategy and you're tailoring it to what you're personally trying to cross off, whether that's going for swimming pools, whether that's, making fences, which I know Chris tends to do a lot over there, or you try to get parks in there. So there's a lot of different ways you can score points, which is what I like about this game. You can kind of do what you want to do with it. And there's a little bit of still of a race aspect with everybody else trying to be first for some of the goal cards.
Yeah, it's the introvert in me that makes me just want to put up fences and kind of isolate myself. And you were talking about the different options and all that. What I found interesting in that last game that we played, we both were commenting, what's up with these BIS cards? Who's ever going to use those? And then we played the Easter egg variant, and we both used more BISs probably than we ever have collectively. And yes. They said, okay, I can see where those can be advantageous at certain times. And then going back to Daniela, something you were talking about with respect to the theme and the art, one of the things I noticed this last time we played, I had never noticed in all the times I played before, is the artwork on the cards. I was like, oh, hey, there's a dog on there kind of jumping up over the fence. Yeah. And then I saw a raccoon. I'm like, well, what else did I miss on these cards all these times? And so I thought that was a nice little touch of really kind of making them look like somebody's home.
Yeah.
They had a old football helmet on it too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's pretty cool. And I think this game is pretty cool with what you're talking about, David, with there's different ways to go about playing this game, but I wouldn't say that there's no right and there's no wrong way to play this game, but there are different approaches that you can have with this game, and you can still score fairly similarly. I think Chris, Emily, and David, I would comfortably say that all 3 of you played differently, had different approaches, yet you were all within the same ballpark with your scores.
Definitely, because I know Chris and David both finished multiple end goals. I completed 1, and I was still up there in the top. So I just found other ways to get points. So yeah, it's interesting.
Which I assume is then good balanced design, and it's been play tested well. I've heard people say, "Oh, that the swimming pools are a failed strategy. You go all in on swimming pools, and they're not going to win." And I don't know that I've ever necessarily won with swimming pools, but I have found parks to be pretty good.
Yeah, David's won with swimming pools.
Okay, so there you go. Well balanced game then.
Yeah, like we were talking, like if you go in BIS, you score negative points, and I think that's one of the reasons why I've always never gone that pathway. Then we played a variant for the Easter egg variant in the spring, and I did find that a lot of fun. I tried to get every egg that was on the board. Unfortunately, I didn't get every egg on the board, but I did have a lot of fun. I almost didn't care what the other strategies I used to use. I was just like, can I get all the eggs? Like, if I can do that, can I win? And I had like 4 or 5 10s in a row, which the only way you can put a number next to another number is by using BIS. And so... yeah, so it was fun. Because the way you capture eggs is you have to use that 0, and you can capture 2 eggs, or if like you write a 6, think about that little hole in the 6 on the bottom that captures 1 egg. So it was an interesting way that they themed it using numbers to write it. And I thought that was a kind of a cool game mechanic to just kind of randomly think of, hey, this is how we capture eggs, is by writing these certain numbers down, like a 9 or a 6 or an 8.
Yeah, that variant definitely used BIS, and I think it was needed for sure to play that game. So yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, I was going to say they definitely incorporated it very well with BIS in mind, because the Easter eggs, in terms of how you score the points, it's definitely weighted, I think, the most out of all the categories that you score on. But in order to be successful with the Easter eggs, you do have to sacrifice some BIS. But in the long run, it worked out for both you, Chris, and you, David. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think the only question we have on BIS is, can a 1 become a 0?
Yes.
We
I
s-
That
think
was
it
for the
has
construction cone, I think, instead.
Was it the
that-
construction?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
construction
Yeah.
cone. So
My
if
bad.
you use the construction site or construction cone, however you want to phrase it, if you use that action, you can increase or decrease the value of the number on the card by 0, 1, or 2.
Yeah, officially, those are the temp agency. I don't know why. That
that
construction
what that
symbol is called the temp agency.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They should rename that.
Well, what they should rename is the BIS card.
Yeah.
I think of it as a duplex. You call it a duplex card, it makes sense to me. They got the same
Yes.
number. It's just 8A, 8B. Calling it a BIS card, it's a little too technical even for me.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
But I think overall, the one thing probably the last thing I want to talk about with this game is I like the chanciness of it, that it is this flip and right, the same kind of theme that we're going with the roll and rights. It's chancy, it's choosy. You can kind of pick, you can kind of manipulate, but at the end of the day, and again, maybe some people are watching what other people are doing, but you could go halfway through the game and have a plan and strategy. I was trying to go for the extra goal scorecards, and then probably honestly the way through pretty early on, I was like, I'm not going for those anymore. I'm going for my Easter eggs, because I saw that they were worth like 32 points at the end. So I changed that up a lot. And so I like that part of the game. You never know kind of what the person to the right or left of you is really doing. Even if they do get one of the extra scorecards, maybe something else that they're doing doesn't pan out or doesn't work. So, I know David doesn't like to know the end score when the end happens. He wants to know, like, while we're playing. I like everybody reveal. What did you get? I don't know. So I think that's probably just as I grow and learn games a little bit more and more, the thing I do like about some of these games a lot. I like that revelio. It's a Harry Potter term if you don't know.
I think it's funny that the Easter eggs worked out for everybody except for me.
So you went with a different
Darn
strategy.
Fences.
Did you not collect Easter eggs on Easter? Did they not hide them
No.
in your house? Oh, that's
No,
probably why.
That would be why.
I used to hide my own Easter eggs, not because I have the intelligence where I'd forget right away, not that kind of hide my own, but I loved searching for Easter eggs so much. I'd hide them again and just wait a while and then go try to find them.
Put an air tag on them. Where did I put that
Well,
one?
we didn't have air tags when I grew up. We're lucky to have
You're
eggs.
talking about like years ago you did this.
Yeah,
not
well,
like,
not like last week.
Oh,
We're
okay.
back in
Well,
the 50s.
hey, last April. There you go.
What gen are you again? Not baby boomer. I know
Not
that.
baby boomer. No. I don't know. Am I Gen X?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, okay.
I thought you were a baby boomer, but you're not.
I'm not. My goodness.
Rude.
It's the meanest thing you've ever said, David.
I know. Well, never mind. I'm not going to say anything else on that.
By the way, Emily, I'm supposed to get a new refrigerator later this week. I'm going to save a side of that fridge box. You cut a slit in it and you just kind of slide it onto this table here.
Yeah.
So that David can't see your board. whenever we're
Barriers.
playing.
I like it.
Yeah. Just build a barrier.
Hey, for the record, she could see my board too. I wasn't trying to hide mine.
Sorry, I don't have wandery
You
eyes.
know.
Ooh.
There's a reason why we built the Great Wall. I'm just saying. So,
Did you? It's in my blood.
I don't know why you were frustrated by the Easter eggs.
I wasn't frustrated with the Easter eggs. I was frustrated with the dang fences.
Okay.
And
well,
what happened was I sacrificed my fences early on.
Yeah, I was going to say we had tons of fences.
To go for the Easter eggs, I think is what happened.
But you still got that end goal. I was working on fences the entire game. I didn't get those end goals.
Honey, I drew like 4 fences.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, I think that's an interesting part of the game, though. You do have to sacrifice one piece to go with the other, and you're going to have to sacrifice points here, there, and the goals. I think if they're playing into your strategy, great. But you can also, if you're just chasing goals, you can really hose yourself in trying to do that. And really, getting the goal first isn't always worth that many more points to where you have to sacrifice that much for it.
But that's the thing. I don't think that I was necessarily going for a goal. I think early on we had the, what was the action called where you increase the value of your estate?
Temporary agency.
Oh no, will you do the estate?
Yeah.
You add the number?
You increase the value of your estate.
Temp agency.
The purple. Well, that's black and white.
Oh no, you mean the
Real
square
estate
on the
cards.
bottom?
Real estate cards? Maybe?
Yeah.
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 Real estate was purple.
Yeah. So you're
for how
increasing
many
the
neighborhoods you
value
have.
of the
Yeah.
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So when doing the real estate or increasing the value of my estate, I did that early on, and I was really going for pairs of threes. And then towards the middle of the game, I realized, oh, hey, I can complete this goal. But what I think I ended up doing was I fell for the trap of the Easter eggs and foolishly put high numbers where they really should not have gone, so that basically towards the end of the game, but a little too soon, I started running out of houses that I could put numbers in, and it really just screwed me over.
So basically, you just saw colorful Easter eggs, started scooping them up with
I
rando
was
numbers,
trying
and
to
totally
find
forgot
Easter
the whole
eggs.
point of the game.
He's never done
had the
it
chance
before.
to do it. I was
Yeah.
looking for Easter eggs. I
So
don't know.
excited.
Yeah, I was
gonna
just
play
so
this at Easter.
excited. I was hopping everywhere. Did anybody else have any frustrations with this game?
I mean, to your point, Emerson, I think that is a frustration, and I also think it is a positive in my opinion too. Like, just because you have to in this game, like Chris was just mentioning too, is that you have to kind of make a choice like halfway through the game. I think you can try to play the middle of the game where you're not going too deep on either end, trying to keep all your options open, but at some point you have to make a decision. Where am I going to go for points at? And to me, that's what makes it interesting is, when you take that leap, then you're kind of relying kind of like on Daniela. You're just relying on chance. I think I was waiting for the last 4 draws for something to come up. It never came up, but it was fun because every time, Emerson shuffled the cards and then he was turning one over, I was, rooting for something to come out, kind of like in the game Raw, which I know Emerson really loves, but, I'm just
Raw or
waiting.
Foundations of Rome. That was fun.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for that number 1 to come up, and it never came up. So I think I ended up losing like 10 points because I couldn't get, what I needed at the very end. But at the same time, it was fun. I had set myself up that way, and that's the path I had chosen. And I was either going to win that way or I was going to go out on my sword, and I guess I went out on my sword. So yeah.
So do you think, David, what you described, and then Emerson, you mentioned, we had that in Foundations of Rome too, and both of those were flipping over cards, and there's this anticipation. I don't know that you get that with dice where, I wonder what I'm going to roll, but as you're flipping cards over one by one, there have been several games where there's that little bit of extra excitement or anticipation. I guess, do you think that's just sort of an aspect of a flip and right you don't get in a roll and right, or just in this game here?
I mean, in this game, it does tell you on the player aid, how much of each card is in the deck. After you shuffle it, you kind of forget. But, I think I did a bad job of. Normally, I count cards a little bit in my head, and I was just playing for those Easter eggs. It was really challenging. They were distracting on that sheet. I didn't see anything but 10s and 9s and 8s. I was just trying to collect them all. So
I'm just as we're playing, Emily several times. I need a 6. I need a 6 with a.
David's just playing Pokemon all the time, trying to collect them all. Exactly. Both games have a correlation to Pokemon.
No, I think with Welcome to and Foundations of Rome, I think one of my best moments actually were flipping cards.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should work at a casino. I don't know.
There you go.
But no, I mean, when I'll kind of get into it when we talk about Battle of the Funnest, but I don't hate this game. I actually really do enjoy this game. It's just that Easter egg. It was just one bad experience with this game. I've never had a bad experience actually with this game. So it's just interesting that you throw in one variant and it just kerfunkle, one big kerfunkle for me.
Kerfuffle.
Kerfuffle, yeah.
Yeah, for me, I honestly have no frustrations with this game. You bring it to the table, I'm going to play it. I really do like it, and I want to keep playing it.
Yeah, but my frustrations are minor. You mentioned one already, Daniela, where you said if we weren't playing this on the dry erase and we're playing it with a pen, and especially a pencil, you couldn't tell where your fences were and stuff like that. So that was one, but again, the dry erase solves that. The other thing is really minor, but it's a pet peeve of mine. If you look at the box, it says plays from 1 to 100. And I think that's because there's probably 100 copies in the paper box, but you're not playing this game with 100 people around a table trying to see the cards.
Doesn't that mean ages 1 to 100?
No, it's players 1 to 100 is what that box says.
That's like
that's what happened during
COVID
COVID
era.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say,
Theoretically,
COVID
you
and
could
on
do
tour,
that.
right?
Yeah, theoretically, you could do that, but I mean, truly in person, you're not crowding 100 people around a table and playing it. So
When we
you
have
could do it
100
over Zoom.
fans, we will play this game at a convention with
there you
them.
go.
There you go.
There you go.
We have,
Put it on the big screen.
we have 14 followers
Be like
right now.
bingo, but welcome to. That'd be fun though. That you do flip cards like on an overhead projector, like you used to do back in the day.
Uh-huh.
The next card is.
Well, there you go. We can try that at one of our game nights. If you can get it set up, so we're going to do
interesting.
a massive welcome to game.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I
Yeah,
like
that'd be
it. I
fun.
like it. Our wheels are spinning.
If this game is of any interest to you and you're just dying to know how much you can get it for, well, you're in luck. David, would you like to tell our listeners how much they can get this game for?
Yeah, so right now this game is going on Amazon for $29.99. I know that a lot of our local board game stores, though, is going to $24.99 is the price point at a lot of the local places around here. So I do think you can get this game for that price if you maybe go out to your local board game store. I think they might have this one actually a little bit cheaper than Amazon, so you might want to go visit them. But, if you're looking for value on the secondhand market, I want to say, if you're doing a Facebook Marketplace deal or something like that, I would probably offer anywhere between 12 to 18 bucks for this. If somebody's looking to get rid of it, I think you can come in and grab it for that kind of price. And I think you'll get a lot of good plays out of it. So
Who owns this game? Is it you, David, or you, Chris?
I own this
David.
game, yeah.
Okay, I didn't.
Yeah. There's actually an expansion of this game that I really kind of want to play. And now that we got our feet with this, I might introduce it. But it is the space kind of version of it, and they have like kind of a legacy campaign that you can play through together. So you could do missions
legacy?
together.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's cool.
Welcome to the moon.
Welcome to the moon.
Right.
Yes.
And there's Welcome to Las Vegas.
I was
I've
going
not
to say
played
there's
that,
Welcome
but-
to Las Vegas, too.
Yeah.
And it's on BGA, Daniela. So if you ever actually play on there,
Listen,
can play
it's a
this
goal. It's a goal. We're aiming for it. If I play once, I beat the goal.
So cool.
It is time for thumbs up or thumbs down. If we feel like Welcome to Your Perfect Home played well at a player count of 5, we'll give it a thumbs up. If we don't think that this game played well at 5, we'll give it a thumbs down. Chris, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I like this game. I actually think maybe it plays better at 5 than if you're sitting there at 3, just because of some of the scoring. For example, those temp agencies, you have a first, second, and third place scoring, so that means more if you have some players like myself that never score from that particular option. And again, I think at 5, you can fit that around a table. Plays well. It's a thumbs up for me. What about you, Emily?
I'm going to give it a thumbs up. I don't think it really matters how many players you have, so I'll give it a thumbs up at 5 players. David, what'd you think?
Yeah, so for me, with 5 players, I definitely am going to give this a thumbs up. I do think it's a game that you can play at 5 or 6. I think it does play better than at a lower player count. So I think if you're looking for something to bring maybe to a game night where you're going to have 5 to 8 people, that's kind of always a weird number to play an actual semi-meaty game. I think this could be a good option for you as far as a gateway game that you can get people interested in that range. So yeah, to me, this is definitely a thumbs up at 5 players. Daniela.
Okay, I'm going to give this game a thumbs up at 5 players. I think if you bring it out to the table, no matter what, it's going to be a fun game, good times. I like the theme overall. It's really fun to play. We had a good time playing it the last couple times we were in a group setting, and so I think Benoit Turpin was the designer of this, so très bien. Emerson, lastly, finally, bring us home. What do you think?
I'm also going to give this game a thumbs up because I think player count doesn't necessarily matter. We talked about playing 1 to 100 players. 100 players is a little outrageous, but playing at 5 players, perfectly fine. Had a good time. You heard it here, folks. Welcome to Your Perfect Home received 5 thumbs up, which means it receives the 5th Meeple seal of approval.
5th Meeple seal of approval.
We're going to take a short break, but stick around because when we come back, we'll be putting our 2 games head-to-head in our Battle of the Funnest. Alrighty, everyone, the moment of truth has arrived. It's time to separate the men from the boys, or more appropriately, the games from the toys. We're going to put these 2 games head-to-head in the ultimate face-off. In one corner, standing at a 7.2 overall rating with a weight of 1.47 on BGG, are your Railroad and Highways, Railroad Inc. And in the other corner, standing with a 7.5 rating and weighing in at 1.84 on BGG, are your Hard at Work Contractors, Welcome to. Let's find out which one is the last game standing in the Battle of the Funnest Showdown. Okay, guys, you walk into a room and you see 2 groups of people playing 2 different games. You may want to play both, but you only have time for one more. Which table are you walking towards and why? Daniela, I'm going to start with you.
It's a hard choice, but I think I'm going to go with Welcome to. I really enjoyed playing this game the last couple times we've played it. Again, no qualms, no issues playing it. I had fun with everybody. It was a little bit more competitive, chatty, talky. So, Welcome to. David, how about you?
Yeah, so this one, again, a little bit of a tough choice. I think both of them I like. So it just, to me, it's which one do I like the feels? Maybe I like to call it better, just gives me that little bit of extra. And to me, that's just a little bit more welcome too. I think when I play it, I just feel like it's a little bit better game. It sticks with me a little bit longer. And so for that reason, if I saw these two, I would probably walk to Welcome 2. Emily, what are you thinking?
I'm going to choose Welcome 2. I feel like every time I play Railroad Inc., it's kind of the same game every time. Whereas with Welcome 2, there's a lot of choice. There's end goals to complete. You kind of compete for the end goals more, stuff like that. So I'm going to choose Welcome 2. Chris, what's your pick?
I've been struggling over here, and I was glad I didn't go first because I still, as I'm talking, I don't know what I'm going to choose. I feel like they're both really, really good games. And my mind is telling me to go to Welcome 2. But when I think about, I play a lot on BGA, and Railroad Inc. is the game that I have played a lot more than Welcome 2. And that tells me that, well, my mind says that should be Welcome 2. I actually enjoy Railroad Inc. a little bit more. So I'm actually going to buck the trend, and I'm going to go with Railroad Inc. How about you, Emerson?
I'm going all the way to Welcome 2, just simply with the fact that I don't have to draw anything.
Well, you're all wrong.
You heard it here, folks. Welcome 2 wins with a 4-1 score. And that is going to bring this episode to an end, folks. If you liked what you just heard and want to hear more, do me a favor, if you haven't already, hit that like button and stay tuned for our next episode. Your views and your support make this podcast possible, so please continue to share and tell your friends and family. Thank you for listening, and as always, keep gaming. Goodbye, everyone.
I can hear everything going on inside your mouth right now, Emily.
I know, I'm trying to stay back here. I heard it too.
I did want to say that we are officially a podcast on BGG. I got us approved as a podcast,
Oh, cool.
like an actual
I would
podcast.
move it.
So we have a guild and now technically a podcast. I have to figure it out, but I think there's a way to connect our episodes that mention the games. So when people go and look up, let's say, Orleans, and then we did an episode on it, they would, I think we'd be advertised at the bottom.
They look up Orleans on
BGG.
BGG. Oh, okay.
And then we'd pop up, I think, is how it works.
That'd
It
be
says
awesome.
something like,
Really?
Yeah, it says like link your episode to games or link the game
I
to
feel
your
like
episode.
everyone would be doing it. There'd be like 100 podcasts under each
They
game.
still on Spirit Island.
How many exits each network? God darn it.
It's fine. I think the mic did a weird thing anyways when you started.
Let's see how many takes.
Are you good?
No, I don't know. Good to start. Earning points based on their longest road and railroads. Maybe fade out the music after the second paragraph, because that's where I keep screwing up on the third paragraph. What do you think?
Can you play this alone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Please
okay.
don't.
I was gonna be like, if you're a loner, you can play this game. That's positive, right?
I mean,
I have
Kick it to
positives
me.
as
I'll
well.
give something.
what's one of your positives?
Did that sound terrible without the music yet?
It was a little abrupt. I thought you were going to stop talking. I didn't know you were going to continue to read on.
Well, he said that was the second paragraph, and then he was
Yeah.
gonna go on.
I guess I didn't really understand the point of fading it out.
Just because I have to keep starting over. We can do it again, because I actually didn't mess up that time. So we can do it again with the music.
Yeah, let's
I just-
Yeah,
I
but
just-
maybe not the music at full volume, and then it's easier to fade it as he goes on.
I just
Like
won't
start
screw
it
up.
out at full volume, and then as he starts speaking.
Another
That's
10
what I've been
tries. Another 10 tries, and I'll get it without messing up.
Oh, you're fine.
You still awake over there, Danielle?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm reading.
The dice are, what do you call it? They're not sized, but they're
6-sided,
They definitely are 6-sided.
they are 6-sided.
purple.
Wait, they're
No,
6-sided?
They're not
They're-
normally purple, though.
They're sized down. They match the same size of the board.
Oh, yeah.
What is that called? What's that word called?
I know what you mean.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Is there a word for that?
You can take the dice and you put them right on, and they fit right in the square size.
Is there a
I
word
don't
for
know.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect fit.
Perfect.
No, just
It's
messing.
like those dice were made for this game or something.
No, it's a word for sized down or sized up to fit.
Just
They're
say you
sized
like that
appropriately.
the die
Yeah.
fit on the board so you can
like
try it out before
uniform.
you write it.
Right sized?
That's all right.
Left sized? That was a dad joke.
So your board do have. Well, your board do have. Do you want my other half? My twin flame. Have you ever heard or seen about that conspiracy?
Yes.
I don't. Is it a conspiracy or a cult?
Well, Colt.
The Nutty Buddy conspiracy?
No, the twin flame. Religious nutty heads.
Where do you find one?
A religious nutty head?
MyTwinFlame.com.
Swipe.
I mean, I could read her name off, but I think I'm going to mispronounce it or his name. It's Marta Tranquilli.
Right.
I don't know if I said that correctly.
Let me read it.
I am Chinese, so this is my second language.
Marta Tranquilli did a really good job. Artisting. What do you call it? Drawing.
What?
Design. What do you call that?
The artwork.
Illustrating?
Illustrating. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
Key.
Is this gonna be a pro or con?
It's
You can
up
just
to
stick
you.
it wherever you want.
That's what she said.
Joking.
Right,
That's also
Mr.
what
Emily
she
just
said.
left, so
I'm like 3 seconds late to everything right now.
Fifth meatball, seal of approval.
oh dear.
You can stick that anywhere you like.
She said that.
Okay, we didn't want to do that again.
Fifth meatball, seal of approval.
If you think it sounded good, then it sounded good.
Did it sound good last time?
Yeah,
it sounded good
I
last
think
time.
the last time we had it. in,
Okay,
yeah,
well,
it sounded
just-
good.
Really?
Take that one and make it a button.
Just do it real quick right now.
Yeah.
La, 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 la.
You need
Okay,
Daniela. She's the other good
Yeah,
singer.
you gotta harmonize.
David, get in here.
No.
Fifth meatball.
All right, SpongeBob.
Stick it in there.
Are we singing it again?
Yeah, whenever you're
All
ready.
right, give me a countdown.
3, 2, 1.
Gonna have somewhere to put it. It may not be the optimal place to put it. Am I going back to that again?
You are. Just put it somewhere, Chris.
Yeah.
It is time for a thumbs up or thumbs down. If we feel like, welcome to your perfect home.
Is the base game just called Welcome To? Or
Yes,
is it called Welcome
just Welcome
Just
To.
Welcome To.
But then it has your perfect home on the box. So
It's a dot,
it's
dot,
officially
dot.
welcome
Yeah,
to
Yeah,
your-
I was like, is it your perfect neighborhood or perfect home?
Oh, that's
So I was
cool.
like, perfect home. Okay.
It is to your perfect home.
I think officially it's just welcome to.
Thank you.
Yeah,
yes.
but
But then the box says your perfect home right there. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's very confusing.
Well, I'm going to say to your perfect home because that's what we talked
If
about.
you made this game, reach out to us.
My tummy growled. I don't know if you could hear that.